Mick and I'm from the Philippines, and where many people speak English as their first language. But then when I went to Indonesia, people say you speak like a native speaker, and I don't know what they mean about that because English is sort of my first language and I do not have a native language. So whenever I hear people say that you speak like an English speaker, I get offended because I, I myself get confused with what's native because I believe there's no such thing as native. And when you say someone is a native speaker of the English language, it bears with a very, colonial way of seeing things. I mean, there's someone who's a native, and then the rest are non-native speakers, and they will never become as good as those speakers of that language. And we see that as an apartheid. We see the world is being run that way. I live in Indonesia, and sometimes I would have difficulty applying as an English teacher just because the color of my skin is brown and I am not a native speaker of the English language. Whereas in the Philippines, English is the medium of instruction, and we were taught English since day one in school. We should stop describing people as there's a non-native speaker and there's a first and second, because globalization has created varieties of identities, and we cannot just have type A, type B, type C, because there's a lot of people come in different shapes, sizes, and to put them into classifications whether one is native and one is a non-native speaker of the English language is just so unfair, because we have different expertise in we do not there's so many ways to measure one's expertise in the language, because it's not just about speaking, it's also about writing, and it's also about understanding, and we do not have much time to classify people in those kind of stuff. So my advocacy has always been to encourage people to just to just stop thinking about being so obsessed with English as a way to become successful, because I believe it is not really about the language. And I live in Indonesia, where the common perception is that we have to speak English like a native speaker because it is our way to success, and I personally believe it's not. It's the skills that makes us successful in the future. So wherever I go, and I'm thankful that I've been given a privilege to become this to sit in position at a club in Toastmasters, in a Toastmasters club in Malang. I am the vice president for education, where I always encourage people to not think that just because they're Indonesians doesn't mean that they cannot be really good communicators in the English language, because I personally believe that no one holds monopoly to the English language. And I remember this popular quote that grammar is it's a universal, it's as universal as the law of gravity, that even the kings and queens follow it. So I mean, grammar should be something that flattens the surface, and whether you're American, whether you're British, we are all subjects to the grammar. So I mean, looking at that perspective, you now have an idea that nobody should be superior just because you're a native speaker of the English language.
And you said a phrase to me. What is it that people say in the Philippines? You don't speak in English.
Right. So I learned it from my professor in the English language. She told me that we don't speak in English, we speak from the English language. It means that that language can colonize people. So what we did was there was a reverse colonization. So English came into the Philippines, but we colonized the English language and turned it into Filipino English. So sometimes I speak in the English language, and perhaps people from America or from Europe would be so confused. Oh, why is he speaking English differently? Well, that's what we do. We speak English from we speak from the English language because we borrowed it and then we revised it and we transform it into a language we may use every single day. The Indonesians would often have this thinking that to be able to speak really good English, it means that they would have to have this accent and they would have to let go of their Javanese accent. But I think that's not important. What's the most important thing is you're able to speak English in a clear way. I mean, my accent depends on the person I'm speaking in front of me. So when I'm with a Filipino, I speak the Filipino English accent, and then when I'm with an Indonesian, when I'm with my Indonesian friends, I tend to speak the Javanese accent. So the issue of whether or not should we let go of the accent, I mean, in my opinion, I think Indonesians should let go of this perception that to be able to become a really good speaker of the English language, they must let go of their Indonesian accent. I mean, it's such a huge shame because it is part of our identity. Accent it is what makes us demarcate from, you know, when we speak in front of people. From the moment we open our mouths reveal who we are. So when we start mimicking the accents of other people and from places where we haven't even been to, I don't know what to call it, but it's something that's very strange.